Support comes from Mosby Building Arts. This year, put your trust in Mosby Building Arts for fresh designs and the elevated remodeling experience you deserve. Inspiration at callmosby.com.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. St. Louis officials announced last week that they plan to use eminent domain on properties near the National Geospatial-Intelligence Agency in North St. Louis. The majority of those properties are owned by Paul McKee's Northside Regeneration. To talk about what this means is STLPR economic development reporter Kavahn Mansouri. Kavahn, great to have you here again.
Thanks for having me back.
Kavahn, remind us about the area that we're discussing here. What is going on in that community?
Yeah, this is a neighborhood in North City surrounding the new NGA campus. You can kind of think of it as Jefferson Cass, but basically, North Side. And basically, there is a lot of arguing going on about some properties that were purchased back in the early 2000s, kind of stretching to maybe just a few years ago, where Paul McKee, this developer, which I'm sure we'll talk about more, bought a bunch of property in the hopes of kind of regenerating the North Side, adding a bunch of new businesses, new homes, housing, things of that nature, even things like hospitals and gas stations, try to really kind of get an economic surge going in that area. It was a project that was really well supported by officials in the city at the time, but as we know now, it hasn't quite rolled out how they hoped.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other needs to know about Paul McKee and how he's gone about acquiring these properties?
McKee, like I said, started buying these properties in the 2000s, hailed as a great project, and people really wanted to get support. Like I said, it had a lot of support. But over the years, the project, like I said, has not come to fruition. There have been sort of, people call it like empty promises. Some people in the community, they were hoping that the property around the NGA would be brought up and lifted with this, crazy expensive new campus, and all this employment was going there, but those promises failed to roll out. McKee and the Northside Regeneration project has missed some loan payments, and there's been a lot of squabbling and sort of arguing over sort of who's to blame through all this. But this has kind of been a long time in the making, what we're talking about now, and it's kind of part of the sort of DNA of the city at this point because it's such a large project, such a big opportunity.
How much property does he hold?
So according to an email that I was sent from a lawyer that represented the Bank of Washington, Mr. McKee, they own about 229 acres of land in North City. Pretty big, a lot of properties. They they would like to be paid, and they actually offered the city at some point about $116 million. They offered the city a opportunity to purchase that property for $116 million. The city kind of balked at that, said that's way too much. And I believe in the email that I looked at, they said, the city was offering something like $20 million, and they thought that was sort of very much a lowball to their estimate.
Mm-hmm. So this pursuit then of eminent domain, how big a deal is this?
It's setting up, it is a very big deal. Basically, it's setting up for a very big battle between Northside Regeneration, Mr. McKee, the Bank of Washington, who is the lender behind the Northside Regeneration, the city. This is a long legal process. It starts with some negotiations. Some letters are sent, negotiations are had, which we've just discussed. That the negotiations have been ongoing, broke down recently. SLDC, St. Louis's development sort of corporation, they were in negotiations with Northside Regeneration and all the groups, but that sort of broke down, and now we're sort of heading to the legal phase. This could stretch out for a while. We're talking about 89 parcels of land thereafter. That's not even all the acreage that we're talking about, and this could go on for quite a while. As noted in the Bank of Washington's letter to the city, the city, they're basically saying the city's decided to spend a lot of money on outside lawyers to sort of try to get this land into the city's city's sort of possession, and it could take some time.
And the city's response to that?
They haven't responded directly to that, but basically they have said that the negotiations have broke down. There have been a lot of he said, she said in these letters sent to between the city and the Bank of Washington, Mr. McKee. It's kind of hard to say exactly where they land. St. Louis Development Corporation said, after the comments they made at the mayor's office last week about this eminent domain project, they don't have much more to say. But right now, there's a whole lot of finger pointing about who's to blame about this whole entire thing. Even some claims of that, from the city is saying that, the Northside Regeneration project had nothing to do with the NGA project coming to North City, and the Bank of Washington and Northside Regeneration coming back and saying that's, ridiculous. Of course, it had to do with NGA coming to North City and building this very expensive new project there. So lots of he said, she said going on right now.
And those fingers also are on their people in the community. Yeah. And what is their position generally about what is happening?
I think from what I've heard, talking with people in the community, as well as looking at we had so much interaction on social media with the story.
Yes.
It's kind of a mixture of people saying about time. I think I thought, a rare win for eminent domain was one of the comments that I saw, because, eminent domain is not always a popular subject. But there were also some people who were saying, kind of pointing the finger at the city and being like, well, maybe the city didn't do enough to make this property appetizing to developers. Maybe not enough incentives were offered, things of that nature. So it's this story, I've talked with a few other reporters this story is so complex and sticky, and it's several decades old and in the making. It's very complex, but most people that I see, at least and talk to, they're like, well, this is about time. This is a long time coming, because they think those properties are just kind of sitting there doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Now, the federal government and NGA specifically has, over the years, talked about building up the community that surrounds that NGA campus. What do we know about that, if anything?
Well, I was at the grand opening of the NGA, and I spent a good amount of time in North City, especially with our tornado coverage. The one thing that struck me as I left this very fancy opening of the NGA campus, Tulsi Gabbard was there, all Mayor Spencer, the governor, all these people. You pull out and you immediately see just boarded up houses, basically on to your left and your right. And that basically, it is kind of, if you look at it from that perspective and the neighborhoods in the area, you'll see that there is a lack of investment. There's still talk about it, and there has been investment, especially in infrastructure, but there are still boarded up homes, and there's a community there that basically feels as if they've been kind of let down.
Mm-hmm. Is there an inflection point that you'll be looking for in this story?
I would say when this heads to court, we're going to see a lot more dialogue between the city. The city kind of welcomed, they were open to more negotiations, but I think the way things are going, and this is just kind of one reporter's opinion, that we're probably heading to court. We, not us, but the city, the Bank of Washington. And I think that's going to be a long played out battle that we'll be talking about this for a few more years, just with the way the court system works.
Mm-hmm. There's another local economic development note here to make. And last week, STLPR's Kate Grumke, whom you've worked with on data center stories, filed a report about plans to turn the Armory in Midtown into a tech hub and a data center nearby. So what's going on here?
So for a catch-up, the Armory, Midtown St. Louis, once known as and touted as St. Louis's biggest bar, kind of like a played down Dave & Buster's, if you will. Did not go well. Ended up closing. It was a production of Green Street, a developer here in St. Louis. There's basically was this proposal to turn the Armory, the parking lot of the Armory, and eventually the Armory itself, into two separate data centers. This is going to be a $1 billion plus project. Huge opportunity for the city with its tax credits. But like with all data centers that we're seeing, and there are so many popping up everywhere in Missouri and elsewhere, there was a lot of public pushback. I attended 3 town halls. There was a community town hall. I think there was at least 200 people there. There was a town hall that was held online, one in person. There was tons of pushback. The developer basically said, Rod Thomas and a few other developing groups basically said, we're going to go back. We're going to take this feedback we've got, and we're going to come back with something better. What they come back with is basically making the Armory building itself into sort of a luxury office space with a data center nearby that is still considered a large load data center, but not nearly as big as probably what it was going to be. But they never kind of said that. But anyway, I'll say, yes, a data center is still probably coming to the Armory. It kind of depends on if the city will okay that or not, because they still need to get some approval.
Kavahn Mansouri is STLPR's economic development reporter. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
This episode was produced by Elaine Cha. And our executive producer, Alex Hoyer.
Our audio engineer is Aaron Dorr. This podcast was mixed and edited by Aaron.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
The Gateway brings you the day's news each weekday from around the St. Louis region and the state capitals in Jefferson City.
Our schools are accredited. We don't need this bill.
And Springfield.
How many more years must pass before lawmakers see time is of the essence?
I'm Abby Larico. Join me each weekday for The Gateway on the STLPR app or wherever you get podcasts.